Hi, friends. Thanks for tuning in for another Together What If. I'm so excited about today's message. It's from the book of 2 Kings. Hear now these words from 2 Kings chapter 5. Naaman, commander of the army of the king of Aram, was a great man and in high favor with his master, because by him the Lord had given victory to Aram. The man, though a mighty warrior, suffered from leprosy. Now, the Arameans, one of their raids, had taken a young girl captive from the land of Israel, and she served Naaman's wife. She said to her mistress, "If only my lord were with the prophet who is in Samaria, he would cure him of leprosy." So Naaman went in and told his lord just what the girl from the land of Israel had said. And the king of Aram said, "Go then, and I will send along a letter to the king of Israel." He went, taking with him 10 talents of silver, 6,000 shekels of gold, and 10 sets of garments. He brought the letter to the king of Israel, which read, "When this letter reaches you, know that I have sent to you my servant Naaman, now that you may cure him from his leprosy." When the king of Israel read the letter, he tore his clothes and said, "Am I God to give death or life, that this man sends word to me to cure a man of his leprosy? Just look and see how he is trying to pick a quarrel with me." But when Elisha, the man of God, heard that the king of Israel had torn his clothes, he sent a message to the king. "Why have you torn your clothes? Let him come to me, that he may learn that there is a prophet in Israel." So Naaman came with his horses and chariots and halted at the entrance of Elisha's house. Elisha sent a messenger to him, saying, "Go, wash in the Jordan 7 times, and your flesh shall be restored, and you shall be clean." But Naaman became angry and went away, saying, "I thought that for me he would surely come out and stand and call on the name of the Lord his God, and would wave his hand over the spot and cure the leprosy. Are not Abana and Pharpar, the rivers of Damascus, better than all the waters of Israel? Could I not wash in them and be clean?" He turned and went away in rage. But his servants approached and said to him, "Father, if the prophet had commanded you to do something difficult, would you not have done it? How much more when all he said to you was, 'Wash and be clean'?" So he went down and immersed himself 7 times in the Jordan, according to the word of the man of God. His flesh was restored like the flesh of a young boy, and he was clean.
Now, I have had people upset with a sermon. I have even received emails and letters in the mail letting me know that they disapprove of something I've said. I've even had someone call the bishop and report on a sermon. But man, I have never preached a sermon where someone has wanted to throw me off a cliff. At least I haven't had anyone tell me directly that they wanted me to be pushed to my death. So I think I still got some work to do, since that was precisely what happened to Jesus when he preached his very first sermon. Jesus uses the scripture that Jenny read for us today when he says, "There were many lepers in Israel in the time of the prophet Elisha, and not one of them was cleansed except Naaman the Syrian." The writer of Luke gives us commentary on that text when he says, "When they heard this, all in the synagogue were filled with rage. They got up, drove him out of the town, and led him to the brow of the hill on which their town was built, so that they might hurl him off the cliff." Now, luckily, Jesus was sneaky, and he was able to pass through the crowd and live to see another day. But why did Jesus' reflection on that story of Naaman's healing, why did that incite so much anger? Why did his words fuel hate to the point that good church-going people were willing to get up out of their pew to kill him for it? I think we need a little background. So Naaman is the commander of the army of King Aram, modern-day Syria. And he is commander of the army of Israel's enemies. He's a powerful man, a man of influence. He had just raided the Israelites and had taken a young girl captive from the land of Israel. So we learn that he is the kind of man willing to kidnap young girls and enslave them in his household. Matter of fact, in a closer reading of the text, we're also told at the very beginning of this text that Naaman was a great man in favor of the king of Israel's enemy because by him the Lord had given victory to Aram. Did you get all that? That the Lord, Israel's God, had given victory to Israel's enemy. And now Jesus is using Naaman as an example of faith when he says, there were many lepers in Israel in the time of the prophet Elisha, and none of them was cleansed except Naaman the Syrian. I mean, how dare Jesus imply that God would overlook us and look with favor on our enemies? The implications of that are enough to ruffle the bonnet of any sweet, kind-hearted Southern church lady enough to want to poison Jesus with her casserole dish. That man who rolls up in front of Elisha's house that afternoon with chariots gleaming and horses adorned with jewels is bringing enough gold and silver that he can buy his cure. Naaman has the means to purchase the healing if there's a prophet in town powerful enough to heal him. Now Elisha has Naaman keep his money, and then he sends him down to dip in the muddy Jordan River. And Naaman believes he deserves better, and he's willing to go away still leprous until his servants intervene. And God, hey man, at least give that bathwater a try. Now what fascinates me about this story is not the powerful Naaman, the unnamed servants who keep showing up and nudging Naaman toward his healing. Now those are I'm impressed with. First, we see it in this young, unidentified captive girl. This girl had been taken from her home and her family, and at her core, she should have hated Naaman. And yet, she's willing to direct him toward the one who could heal him. She offers love to a man who doesn't deserve it. And then next is his servants, who listen to his arrogant and high and mighty attitude about why he was just simply too good to dip in the Jordan River. And finally, they convince him to go and let go of his pride and do what the prophet asked. And in doing so, he finds his healing. It was the unnamed servants who guided Naaman to his healing. Friends, as we reflect on the values of liberty and justice on this 4th of July weekend, I think it's worth reminding ourselves that there is wisdom in people that go unnamed. And as a nation, we would do well to listen to those who have little power. For a true patriotic spirit is one where we are willing to be vulnerable and listen to the voices of those outside the bubble of our own privilege. The story of Naaman teaches us that healing comes not from power, but from our humility. And I think that's something that we Americans could learn once again. We need someone who is not intimidated by power or position. We need people who can look past our job titles, bank accounts, status, and influence and see our loneliness and our pain. We need people who can see our pain, call it out by name, and direct us toward our healing. I think there's two kinds of people in the world. There are balcony people and there are basement people. Now, basement people are people who try to bring us down with them. Basement people want us to stay in the dark and live in the musty presence of hate and division. But balcony people are those who are going to pull us up. Balcony people are the people that help us look past our stubborn pride. Balcony people call our problems like they see them and see our blind spot and love us towards a place of healing. Balcony people lift us up. Basement people push us down. So who are you? Or who are the balcony people in your life? Who are the people pulling you up? Story about a teacher who went around the room on the first day of class having students introduce themselves. And each student was to respond to the question, what do I like and what don't I like about myself? Nearly hiding in the back of the room was a young lady named Beth. Her hair was long and hung down around her face, hiding half of her face from view. When Beth introduced herself, there was silence in the room. And the teacher moved near her and gently repeated the question. Again, there was only silence. After some prompting, Beth pulled back her hair and revealed a scar from a tragic burn that she had had when she was a child. What is your leprosy? What is your scar? What problem are you trying to hide, or what hurt are you trying to cover up? What keeps you from forming relationships? What keeps you from feeling loved? Like Beth and Naaman, we all have a pain that we're trying to hide. And it's why we need balcony people in our lives. We need the person who can lift us up, who's moved with compassion and determined to be a balcony person. Beth's teacher brushed Beth's hair back. She reached down and she kissed her on the side of the cheek where she had the scar, and she said, Beth, I think you're beautiful. Now, I wish I knew the name of that brave captive girl in the story that directed the powerful Naaman toward his healing. Only to know the name of the girl who showed undeserved love to this man that didn't deserve it. Only to know the name of the girl who showed the way towards healing. Wait a minute, I do know her name. You know her name. God has told us her name. It's Grace. Amazing grace. And Lord knows we need all of that in our life today. Amen.
Again, God, I'm begging, please again, I need you. Oh, I need you. Walking down these desert roads, water for my thirsty soul, I need you. Oh, I need you. Your forgiveness is like sweet, sweet honey on my lips. It's like the sound of a symphony to my ears. It's like holy water on my skin. Dead men walking, slave to sin. I want to know about being born again. I need you. Oh God, I need you. So take me to the riverside. Take me under baptized. I need you. Oh God, I need you. Your forgiveness is like sweet, sweet honey on my lips. It's like the sound of a symphony to my ears. It's like holy water on my skin. On my skin. I don't wanna abuse your grace. God, I need it every day. It's the only thing that ever really makes me wanna change. I don't wanna abuse your grace. God, I need it every day. It's the only thing that ever really makes me wanna change. Oh, I don't wanna abuse your grace. God, I need it every day. It's the only thing that ever really makes me wanna change. Your forgiveness is like sweet, sweet honey on my lips. It's like the sound of a symphony to my ears. It's like holy water. Your forgiveness is like sweet, sweet honey on my lips. It's like the sound of a symphony to my ears. It's like holy water on my skin. It's like holy water on my skin. It's like holy water.
The healing grace of God is like holy water, washing away shame and despair and bringing new life. May you have a daily spring of grace flowing over you this week.
I'm grateful you gave this time to watch today and for this online ministry opportunity and the giving and resources that make it possible. If you would like to support Together What If, you can go to gfumc.com/give. And as always, you can help us build online bridges to Christ by liking and sharing this content. This week, I am praying for us to experience God's grace flowing over us and to be empowered by His presence to be grace sharers to everyone we meet. Join us next week and invite a friend as we start a new message series called Camp Meeting, which is a study of what makes us distinctly Methodist. See you next Sunday.